A lot has gone down since we have last been on the platforms.
What about the billions of people that have no chance for any health care at all? Many of them, if not most of them, brown and black.
We must question the true felt impact for the average black person in Canada.
What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations, 2018 Innovation Award winner, 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. I also co-host and co-produce the only online show in the world for dads, fathers, and male caregivers that's sponsored by Dove Men Plus Care. And being part of that movement, reached out the team to over 500,000 dads, fathers, and male caregivers around the world. And as always, I like to say, you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. We're broadcasting live on Sunday, February 5th, and it is cold. It seems the last 2 weekends in Toronto have been very, very, very cold, but we are hot with Black Canada talking, and we are hot to have Cesar Ndema-Moussa in the house. Cesar, how are you doing?
Dr. Vibe, I'm happy to be with you. As you know, had a long drive to get here to this hotel. So I'm really glad. To all the people out there, safety first. Safety first.
100%.
You don't care about you. So do like me. You're too tired to drive, pull over, find a rest spot, take that 10 minutes, 15 minutes, have your water ready, and so that we can come and enjoy this moment in togetherness. So
100%. What have you been up to since we last had you on the platform?
Well, we have a mutual friend of ours that I ran into Wednesday at the federal launch, Government of Canada launch of Black History Month at the Museum of History in Gatineau. I was in the news here, and we talk about it in one of the segments. And of course, working and addressing issues. Also, yes, readying to go to Geneva in regards to the United Nations Permanent Forum for People of African Descent, as the decade has been renewed, the decade for people of African descent. Now, I'm saying that, but ultimately, my attendance and notably participation, I am in the International Civil Society Working Groups. I'm one of the members in terms of organizing and all that, but always a matter of concrete actions that come out of these international meetings, because like I always tell people, a fanciful name is like a nice container, but the real question is what's in it? What are the results? What are the fruits? So yes.
Okay. How many years in a row is this going to be to Geneva?
So it's back and forth, Geneva, New York. We were really
okay.
pushing this year for being in the global south. Brazil, but also Kenya are some of the prime locations, because of course we're talking about African descent. So my logic is, how come we are not going to show support to our people down south, and notably support the economic support that is so important in terms of the Black cause and the Black struggle for liberation. The renewal of the decade, if I'm not mistaken, is going till 2034. But of course, we see some of the challenges that come in terms of notably the United Nations financial position, the current White House / American administration under Trump. But, and we must never be hypocrites, the very question of mismanagement, but also solidarity of African and Caribbean nations. Now, we're talking about these civil society meetings to advance the Black cause, Pan-African cause, But we look at the state of our countries, whether we're talking about Haiti, whether we're talking about Sudan, whether we talk about what happened in Jamaica in terms of the environment, how many African nations offered their help to the Jamaican brothers and sisters. You see, it's like these are the concrete measures in which we see how we are advancing. It is not Cesar going to Geneva or New York, United Nations. It's nice on a resume, we can talk about it, but really, for the average Black man, woman, but also child of all skin color, mixed slash biracial with blonde hair and blue eyes to dark skin like midnight, and also as the notion of the family is evolving, white allies, white parents adopting Black children, white men and women who are married to Black people, uh, uh, white mothers of mixed children. And I'm saying white, but really I should say non-Black because, I mean, Dr. Vab, you come to my gym, you might be shocked to see so many 20-year-old young Black males with Asian girlfriends. I didn't even say white, with Asian girlfriends. So the changing landscape, the society, etc., basically making it that, you know, uh, the Pan Africanism of the 21st century is not just big conventions and look at how smart, knowledgeable that I am. It's concrete results for our people, our allies, families by extension, um, and how, the efforts that we are doing, how do they actually experience them? How do they live them? Is it growing in terms of Black consciousness? Is it growing socioeconomics? Are we having conversations in terms of Black banks, Black hospitals? This is not a matter of Black this and that as segregation, but nobody questions a Mount Sinai Jewish hospital. Everybody applauds it, and they treat and welcome everyone. So why can't we have such a thing as well?
Understood. Question I have for you: what microphone are you using? Because once in a while, there's a little bit of a vibration. Is this is
I truly apologize. It's from the laptop only.
okay? All right. So I'm going to make a suggestion. Uh, keep your tone sort of monotone. Don't let it fluctuate because when you speak louder, it vibrates a bit for the listener. Just a suggestion.
It's very fair. It is my voice. I know that. I know
Okay,
that
no
about me.
worries. All right, I wanted to be polite with that. All right, so we are going to do a few things. We're actually going to do some housekeeping now, and then we're going to go right into our first story. As always, subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and hit the notification button. Also, follow the Dr. Vibe Show on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, and Substack. If you'd like to advertise your business, product, or service on any of the platforms that I'm a part of, please feel free to email me, dr.vibe at the drvibeshow.com. If you want to get a hold of Cesar, and why wouldn't you? Email him, president at rootsandculturecanada.com, and Facebook's Cesar Remy Emery. And what we're going to do right off the bat, we're going to show a video introducing our first conversation piece. So we're going to get right into it. So it's about 35 seconds long, but it's important. So here we go.
Imagine a tradition that began as a single week in 1926, now marking its 100th year as Black History Month. From Carter G. Woodson's vision to a national movement. This centennial isn't just about the past, it's about the ongoing fight for recognition and truth. In 2026, as debates over history and diversity intensify, Black History Month stands as both celebration and resistance. Communities are launching creative projects, hosting events, and finding new ways to teach and inspire. This month reminds us that Black history is American history. Dive deeper, get involved, and help carry this legacy forward because the story is far from over.
All right. So our first conversation piece is Black History Month at 100. I guess 100 years maybe in the US. I think in Canada it's about 30. But the more important fact is why it still matters. So why does Black History Month still matter, Cesar?
The question deserves to be talked about And it's not so much because it's been 100 years. Nobody's doing the countdown, but here, let me first remind our people that we have the eldest members of our society, centenarians. Canada is a country that has a lot of centenarians. Brother Malcolm X is born in 1925. He would be 101 years old this year. Brother Martin Luther King is born in 1929. He would be turning 97 this year. The importance of Black History Month, notably 100 years since its founding, is an acknowledgement of the struggles and challenges, not just in regard to white establishment creating difficulties, but even for Black people to embrace it. Today we're talking about Black History Month, but we could also be talking about even Kwanzaa since 1966. And we know how too often, and I'm not going to try to be to enter too much into the philosophy of Pan-Africanism, but we know how too often the very thing created by Blacks for Blacks, aka FUBU, the greater challenge is its acceptation, its embrace, celebration, propagation by Black people themselves. These are results of slavery and colonization upon the mind, aka the shackles on the body have come off. The real shackles are in the mind. So when we see a society as we live in now, in which there is a White House administration that openly fights against DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. I do inclusivity, not inclusion. But when we have an administration that does that, it is not so much against DEI, it's against social justice. It's against Black progress. The importance of Black History Month is for people not just to remember, to understand that Malcolm X, Brother Martin Luther King, and so many others, Fred Hampton, murdered at 21 in 1969. Stockley Carmichael.
Hey y'all, we've got your Saturday evening plans handled. It's smart conversation, lots of laughs, and a little bit of...
Did they really just say that?
That's because it's primetime Saturdays at 5.
We had a little bit of a technical difficulty. Sorry about that.
No worries, my brother. It's to understand that it's not just that these great names of history, and please, let me do justice to our sisters. It's not just to say these great names of history will still be alive with us today, such as Patrice Lumumba, Thomas Sankara, murdered before they turned 40. But it's also to understand that 100 years ago, our ancestor, brave sister Ida B. Wells, was writing about the lynchings of Black men in the American South, segregation. This is literally a conversation in terms of Black history, which is not and must never be limited to the month of February, but all year long, in the same way as any day of the year you turn on history. So this is a message for those who will be proponents of such a thing as a White History Month, aka talking about anti-white racism. Fiction, it doesn't exist. Any day of the week you turn on TV, there's white history programmation learning available. The Holocaust, aka Jewish history, every week. Switch the channels. You'll find knowledge about it. At the same time, when I say this, I just want to take a quick minute here. So I do this when I give trainings and conferences. I do teach, aka I reteach white history to the white public servants, the white senior leaders. I tell them the truth about the history. It is not a truth in terms of the evil white men, as many would expect me to be talking about. It's about white contributions that are not mentioned. Why? Because if just as we must uplift Black education, Black history, Black spirituality, if we really taught the history of whiteness to white, they would be able to see how the very systems to which they contribute to, willingly or not, actually also oppress them. I'll give you a quick example, two quick examples if you don't mind. We talk about how slavery, colonization were used to impose Christianity and Islam upon Black people. Whites got converted by force over centuries, notably under the first Roman Caesars, but also the, the Frank Carolingian emperor Carolus Magnus, aka Charlemagne, the model of the king in Europe. Massacres and genocide, the heresies, aka people not agreeing to the doctrine of the Vatican, murdered by the hundreds and thousands. This is how white people became Christians. It is not taught to them. Just as white heroes of social justice, whether it be in terms of the history, queens such as Bodhiciah, but also in regards to unions and standing up for the rights of non-white people. I often give the example of these two white people, E.D. Morel, a French-British journalist, and Alice Seeley Harris, an American nun. Why would I be giving praise to a nun when I'm denouncing Christianity? Because over 100 years ago, these white men and white women, they took the relay of Black activists in denouncing the Congo Free State of King Leopold II of Belgium, which killed 15 million Africans in the Congo, notably chopping off their hands and feet if they were not collecting fast enough the sap from trees in order to make what? The new industry of the early 20th century, automobile tires. So the importance of Black history, it is not just Black history, it's world history. It is a history in which Dr. Vibe, how many Vietnamese people know that Uncle Ho, aka Ho Chi Minh, back in the 1920s, attended rallies by our revered ancestor Marcus Garvey. Ho Chi Minh wrote himself that he attended those meetings. He helped to build his mindset, construct his ideology towards independence of Vietnamese people from the Japanese, the French, and the Americans. Black history is world history, but how many of our Black people know and acknowledge this? A quick example I will give to you, Dr. Vibe, and I really want our people to understand. And, when I say our people, Black women, Black men, Black children, and our allies, and our family members and friends who are not Black. I want them to really understand this is an evolution of my mindset. And a perfect example of the evolution is how, when I was giving conferences over many years in high schools in the Ottawa region of the 4 districts, Catholic, Public, French, and English, I noticed a major lack for Black children, which was the lack of answer due to a lack of education. The perfect example is this one, and you can do this test. Anyone can do this test very easily. Most Black teenagers and adults around the age of 18 and older are able to name the 3 greatest white conquerors or most known characters in history: Alexander the Great, Julius Caesar, and Napoleon, who are, by the way, still taught today. You ask Black children what are the equivalents in African/Black history, they do not know what to answer. This is the same conversation in which you ask Black children and adults, who is the Savior? Most of them will say Jesus Christ and Allah, or Allah, aka white religions, without being able to give you the names of African deities, African spiritualities. In a world of power relations in which identity, notably racial identity, matters much more than it should, it creates an inferiority complex, aka you know the history of the other, you don't know your own history. And let me not be a hypocrite, I used to be there. It's a Haitian friend of mine, Daryl, when I was 16 years old, impressed with my knowledge. I was the, what do you call that? Not just a teacher's pet. I was literally teacher's assistant in the history class in high school. And then he asked me one day, yeah, France, China, Japan, Germany, USA, England, Italy, Spain, you know a lot about the histories of those countries. What about our histories? How many of our Black children? Yeah, Haitian children can name Toussaint Louverture or Jean-Jacques Dessalines. Tutmosis III, the greatest African conqueror in history. How many Black people have heard that name, Tutmosis III? Africa is the continent that counts the most ruling Black queens and Black leaders of armies. Amani Renas stood up to Augustus Caesar 2,000 years ago, which is the reason why the Roman Empire didn't go further south than Egypt. They could not conquer Sudan. I can go on with so many examples. I can even talk about Zumbi dos Palmares, 100 years, a little bit more than 100 years before Toussaint Louverture, in creating what we could literally call the Free State of Palmares, where for about 100 years, the runaway kidnapped Africans in Brazil defended the freedom against the Portuguese. Our children do not know these stories. Our adults don't know these stories. So eventually, despite the greater awakening that's happening, it creates an inferiority complex among our people, and an inferiority complex that translates in the inability to see one another in one another, aka Ubuntu. When you see one another in yourself, it's like me and you, Dr. Vibe. I can call you on the road, my brother, how you do?
It happened today.
Exactly.
It happened today.
It's not
Absolutely.
business relation or, oh, I know this guy. No. It is that element, that soul element that must unite us in creating better communities and better Black nations.
I want to ask you a question. I'm going to preface it in some way. You know what? Would you agree for Black history to survive and thrive, there has to be Black pride?
There cannot be Black history that makes sense without Black pride. Why? There is no Jewish history without Jewish pride. There is no Greek history without Greek pride. Lebanese people are very proud people. They have pride. I've traveled. Dr. Vibe, remember how the embassy of Korea, South Korea, invited me to an event because they saw me invited by my friend who did taekwondo, my friend Junior, and I came there dressed in an African outfit. The ladies come to talk to me. They see that I know a little bit about their history from Netflix, aka Netflix and Learn. People, Netflix and Learn. They invited me over. I see the pride. I see the pride throughout nations, throughout people. I remember, Dr. Vibe, let me put it to you, because I was talking about the lack of answers, the lack of knowledge. This was, as I just turned 47, I'm going to say 15 years ago. This must have been 15 years ago. I was invited to a restaurant because in that time, 15, 20, 10 years ago, I would often be invited to restaurants or to events, intellectual challenges and debates. And the friend who invited me, a white lawyer, we were sitting at a table with these other white people who were there. And interestingly, of course, we talk about politics, geopolitics, and history. Black people often get made fun of because they don't know their own history. And when I say they don't know their own history, I'm talking about the history that they know is the same history that other people who are educated already know, aka, yeah, Haiti became independent to Saint Louverture, etc. But here, this Polish man was on his feet when I told him about Katyn, the massacre of Polish army officers by the Russian army in 1945, if I recall the year exactly, during World War II. The fact that I knew that impressed him. What shocked him is when I asked him, how come I know that part of your history and you don't know the part of my history where I'm born in Cameroon and there was a genocide from 1955 to 1971 by the French to prevent a true independence of Cameroon, a genocide that killed 100,000 to 400,000 Cameroonians with the help of the corrupt government. That bothered that Polishman. I was not being moralistic on him. He understood there was a problem with his own education in which this black man knew something about his country. And I've never been to Poland. He's never been to Cameroon. It bothered him. This is a neat, I can't remember if he was a university professor or a lawyer, these are the circles that I'm in. But it strongly bothered him. And he vowed he will learn. This is the black pride that comes concretely to everyone, that we must show concretely to everyone.
Then, building on what you just shared with us, what suggestions do you have to increase black pride so black history becomes continue so that black history thrives, not just survives?
The question is excellent, and I really like how you put the accent on thriving, not just surviving. I'm going to give a cliche answer, but I'm going to give it, not only is it cliche, it is actually simpler. It starts in the home. It starts with parents. So let us be honest. We are black people. We have too many black parents who tell black children, whatever the skin tone, mixed with blonde hair, blue eyes to dark skin like midnight. We have too many black parents who tell the children to read, yet the children grew up in households in which they never see the parents read anything of substance. They never see the parents watch TV shows or documentaries that feed into black pride. They never have the parents taking them to events that matter and build the soul. I remember I was 15 years old. My school, a very white Christian Catholic college with uniforms, nuns, and priests. They probably didn't know what they were doing, but they had an event which was a viewing of the movie Black Panther. Oh, no, I apologize. No. I said that wrong. I was going to high school. A black organization organized it. Oh, I must not give the wrong credit here. This is where it comes to. This is something that is fed. My parents, as a child, provided me with books regarding the French Revolution, but also regarding African history. As I got older, because at 16, Daryl asked me the question I didn't know what to answer. Daryl is Haitian. He's not a white guy. He wasn't trying to make fun of me. He asked honestly. It starts in the home. It starts in black parents truly going to seek those books. I translated in French the African Canadian history book Trailblazers. which people can find at Chapters Indigo. Trailblazers in English, Les Visionnaires in French. It is in some books. One of my nephew from British Columbia, we are in Ontario. For people who don't know, British Columbia is on the other side of Canada. One of my nephews, 16-year-old, talking about how that book is in his school library. It starts in the home. It starts with that consciousness. It starts notably with not just knowing the usual names. I purposely said Brother Malcolm X and Martin Luther King to start, but then hear me out. I'm talking about Tutmosis III. How many black people have heard of that name? Zumbi dos Palmares, Pharaoh Queen Hatshepsut, Warrior Queen Amani Renas. I can go on down so many names, and white allies who stood up for the cause, non-black allies like Hugo Chavez, like Fidel Castro. Fidel Castro, the only white leader who sent soldiers to fight for African independence in the 70s. It wasn't perfect. I'm not saying the opposite, but he did it. This is where, and I say this furthermore because in terms of my reading, my studies, and the nature of my work in equity, diversity, and inclusion, as most people will say, we are going into years in which identity will make more and more of a difference, not only in the perceptions, but also the realities that people live. With the rise of white supremacy, usually the counter effect becomes a choice people must make to create communities with more humanity, but more humanity in terms of which I can hear a Polish person talk about the tragedy of the people, and they can hear and embrace me talking about the tragedies of my people. It doesn't have to be just about the Israel-Palestine tragedy on the news. We need to hear about what's happening in Sudan, in Haiti. We need to hear about what's happening about the Rohingya. We need to hear about A, B, C, and D in order to create that global village and community in which we go protest for the cause of Black people, and we can go protest as allies for the cause of non-Black people, if they also come to protest for the cause of Black people.
Only thing I'll add to what Cesar has shared, if you are colored like us, have our color, Black history starts in your own family. It doesn't have to be like start in your own family. Don't make it difficult. You don't need to watch a TV screen. Ask your parents, ask your family, especially ask your elders. Ask your elders. That is something I value so much more these days. Sitting with an elder and just hearing some of their story, because it's not on a TV screen. They lived it. And the thing is, if you don't ask them, it's going to be too late.
And not just that, Dr. Vibe, not just that. We live in the age of smartphone.
Yep.
And yet too many people are dumb. I am sorry. I'm using such a rude term. But that's what it is. That's how I have to call it. That's what I see online. People who are, I have an expression. In the 21st century of STEM and AI, mass education as mass information and mass communication, being ignorant is a choice when you literally have this computer that's more powerful than the NASA computers that sent the first man to the moon. Being ignorant is a choice. Black pride is a choice. But guess what? The very nature of the society, of the world of white supremacy in which we live in, especially in an age of growing conflict, as we are seeing, your blackness will be reminded to you, just like politics will be imposed upon you if you choose not to partake in it.
All right. That's the good stuff. So we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back in 30 seconds. We're going to talk about the leader of the Progressive Conservative Party in Canada. Some people thought he wouldn't survive a leadership contest, but he did. We'll be back to chat about it. Hold tight.
Hey, y'all, we've got your Saturday evening plans handled. It's smart conversation, lots of laughs, and a little bit of...
Did they really just say that?
That's because it's primetime Saturdays at 5 p.m. Eastern with Aisha K. Staggers and Laura Lala Key.
Where they try to make sense of the nonsense going on in American politics and culture.
Check it out.
Let's watch Black Canada Talking live on Sundays at 5 p.m. Eastern, where Dr. Vibe and Cesar Ndema-Moussa give their takes and POVs on news stories from a Black Canadian perspective.
And as the wonderful young lady said, you are watching Black Canada Talking with myself, Dr. Vibe, and Cesar Ndema-Moussa. And we are going to our next conversation piece. Pierre Poilievre, leader of the Progressive Conservative Party. He won his leadership evaluation by a lot. Some people thought he wouldn't make it. So I want to get Cesar's thoughts on Mr. Poilievre, the Conservatives, and what their vision means for Canada in 2026.
So first, I must speak about another man in regards to Pierre Poilievre. Last Wednesday, I had the surprise and the joy, I purposely say joy, of meeting this MP, Member of Parliament, the equivalent of congressman in the United States or deputy in France, Bruce Fanjoy. Bruce Fanjoy is the MP who defeated Mr. Pierre Poilievre in his own riding in Ottawa. And as such, Mr. Pierre Poilievre had to go find a safe seat to run in Alberta. And thus, the reason why so many people were unsure that he would succeed at his leadership race, which he won. Dr. Vibe, you correct me, I believe he was 87%.
Yeah, and it was either 83 or 87%. It was quite high.
Quite high, and but I still can say congratulations to him. It's not about me congratulating him. He doesn't care that I would congratulate him. However, I give you two perspectives here. This is the same Mr. Pierre Poilievre who was greatly silent regarding all the attacks of Donald Trump against Canada, aka the so-called 51st state, as notably he was trying to diminish the parallels between Trump and what many were calling Northern Trump, aka Mr. Pierre Poilievre. This is also the same Pierre Poilievre who, trying to diminish the memory of him supporting the Freedom Convoy of January, February 2022, who were openly intent of bringing down a legally, legitimately elected Canadian government, aka the same could happen to him if he comes to be in power. This is also the same Pierre Poilievre who has seen members of his party cross the line to join the Liberal, bringing them, if I'm not mistaken, short of one MP to be the majority. So yes, he did get this high support in the 80s, which many did not expect. But then it raises the question, where are they going to go with this? And I'm saying they, not just Pierre Poilievre, but truly the Conservatives, because first of all, regarding Black people, aka our main topic of concern, the Conservative Party still does not recognize systemic racism, aka they still reject the very notions of EDI. The lie, as we were talking about in the previous segment regarding Black history, the lie given to white constituents, white Canadians, in regards to meritocracy, it is an absolute lie coming from someone who has been a politician since his mid-20s. This is not, Pierre Poilievre does not represent the majority of white people, nor majority of conservative voters. I don't want anyone to think I am creating a false parallel that white equals conservative or conservatives are all white. It is not true. There are Black conservatives, there are brown conservatives, Asian conservatives, you name it, but majority are white. But one thing that we all know is that majority have not been in a position of privilege as to be sitting in the parliament, to be a politician since the mid-20s and dealing with the realities of life, such as struggling to pay bills. Now, further than that, the Conservative Party does have a problem which many people would like to say originated from the United States, aka white supremacy on the board, with the rise of there's a rise of white supremacy or racism in Canada. But let's be honest, Canada already had this problem. Dr. Vibe, the very founder of the Proud Boys, we know Donald Trump talking about Proud Boys. He gave them a message to stand down or be ready, something like that. The very founder of the Proud Boys is actually Canadian, or the co-founder, Gavin McGuinness, among other groups that are found here in Canada. One of the biggest one, Diagonal, in which white supremacist rhetoric is not just in regard to a so-called white nation, aka Canada, a colonial creation against the indigenous first and foremost, but also rhetoric in terms of white race purity and especially anti-immigration rhetoric, with special targeting of the Canadian Indian community, and notably foreign students. Will the Conservative Party truly address those topics, or they will try to minimize them and show them under the rug in the same way as the American Republican / MAGA Party is doing? Cultural and identity questions are inevitable in a country created by colonization and growing in population due to immigration. How will the Conservative Party under Pierre Poilievre be able to create a better living together? What will they be able to offer as a counter offer to Prime Minister and Liberal Party leader Mark Carney? Because it has not been coming. Not only has not been coming, but Pierre Poilievre, if I'm not mistaken, was talking about, we must be united against the American threat, which of course makes sense. But what is the alternative that he's proposing to Canadians in order to vote for him and put him in power, other than to just be what he has been so many times, an angry critic? Well spoken, I absolutely give him that. Calm, but coming off a little bit authoritarian, and as even Donald Trump said, a mini version of him in the North. Because it's not just about the economic and pretending that you're going to bring down the price of things. It is more complex than that, as Americans are finding out themselves. And it is also not a simple matter of just saying we're going to diminish or shut down immigration, aka who's going to pay for the retirement of the seniors? Too often, right-wing parties, I'm saying too often, I should probably say always, right-wing parties, just like religions, offer simple answers to complex issues for people who are angry, but also gullible and live in fear. They live in fear, so they become easy targets for simple answers to complex issues.
Let me ask you, Cesar, would you say Pierre Poilievre's greatest enemy is the President of the United States?
No. I do not give Donald Trump
Can I
much
interrupt?
attention.
The reason why I'm asking that is that people in Canada, when they think progressive conservative, they think of Pierre Poilievre. When they also think of conservative, they think of the President of the United States. So just that was my thought process, saying that that's Mr. Poilievre's greatest enemy. What the President of the United States does, because rightly or wrongly, they're both thought of as well. They're both thought of as conservatives. That's why I framed it in that manner.
So I will be a little bit biased here, kind of an intellectual bias, in suggesting that uh, Donald Trump has probably succeeded at his biggest quest. I don't think the presidency was Donald Trump's biggest quest, as he was even surprised that he won. His biggest quest was to be constantly on people's minds and conversations every day. You know, the highest level of, excuse my language, attention warring, attention, like, constant seeking of attention. But I think he has succeeded in kind of being a brand by himself, not needing conservative or Republican or even MAGA as a label. My 4-year-old daughter knows who Donald Trump is, and she will tell you he's a bad guy. He jails 5-year-old kids. Oh, yeah. My
Yeah,
daughter watches the news with me, and I let her know what's up. That's also part of Black Pride, starts in the home. Pierre Poilievre's biggest enemy is Pierre Poilievre. When he talks, what he says, just as when he doesn't talk and what he doesn't say. And I say this furthermore because it is not Donald Trump who sent Mr. Poilievre to go support the Freedom Convoy
true.
when they were occupying Ottawa. How can I, as a black man living in Ottawa, which was occupied its downtown by the Freedom Convoy, how could I possibly vote for Pierre Poilievre? Who basically did something that I have said many times on the show. If the Freedom Convoy were in the vast majority black men, the turnout would have been bloody, if not deadly, just as January 6th in the United States, if it was the vast majority by black men. How can I vote for a man, let's be blunt, a white politician who goes to bring support to white radicals? Yes, they will say anti-vaccine men, they change the society, change the government. White radicals, aka go look at the Muslim Canadians. You think Muslim Canadians would have gone to do that? You think black Canadians would have gone to do that? Canadian LGBTQ would have thought, oh yeah, we're gonna go occupy the parliament in Ottawa for 2-3 weeks and we'll be fine. Indigenous people, the Oka crisis, 1990. You think indigenous people are think they're gonna go occupy the parliament for 2-3 weeks and they're just gonna pitch the tents? White supremacy. How can I vote for a man who goes to support that openly? And a man who also does not believe in the existence of systemic racism in his white privilege of having been a politician since his mid-20s. And to go further than that, there are brown conservatives, notably in the Toronto area. There's a growth of racism against immigration and particularly against Indian immigration. How is the average Indian going to look at the leader of a party who will be silent upon the victimization that they go through, the racism that they go through? We see this on YouTube. The videos are there on YouTube. I'm not making them up. Pierre Poilievre's biggest enemy is Pierre Poilievre. And I'm saying this as it was also revealed, and I apologize, I forget her name. His chief of staff is quite stern, leading to power relations in the Conservative Party that has greatly made many walk out of the party. It's important for people to understand this is the reality. And this reality is one in which Canadians should not be falling for the usual tactics or looking down south at the US and saying, we are not like them. No, 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 no. The same thing can happen here. January 6, 2021 in the US, January, February 2022 right here in Canada. Trump of the North, a lot of the rhetorics, white supremacy, anti-immigration, every conservative talks about once they come to power, they will not reopen the question about abortion. every conservative party wants to reopen the question about abortion, the role of the church, aka ending the separation between church and state, aka tear apart the Constitution in order to create or recreate a white Christian and capitalist nation in which the privilege, and understand privilege, rich white men dominate and crush everyone else.
Good stuff. In the house with us live, the president of the Cesar Ndema fan club, Michelle Baptiste, says she's just getting through Snowmageddon, and she says, "Good evening, good people." So good to have you as always, Michelle.
Good evening, Michelle. Good evening, Michelle.
Yes.
And it's great. By the way, little message to Michelle. It's great to have you on my Facebook. Thank you for your contributions.
Very nice. Appreciate that. That's fantastic. That's good to hear. All right. We have one last conversation piece. And I've been waiting to hear what Cesar has to say about this one. So we'll be back in 30 seconds. We're going to introduce our final conversation topic. Here we go.
What do Black Canadians really think about Trump, Obama, and racism? Nearly half report facing racial discrimination in Canada, especially at work and with police. When Trump shared a racist video about the Obamas, it struck a nerve. Many see it as part of a pattern. Most Canadians, especially Black Canadians, hold negative views of Trump, while Obama is seen more positively. Yet, despite ongoing challenges, optimism is rising. Almost 2/3 believe racial equality is possible in their lifetime. These experiences shape how U.S. politics and racism are viewed here. What's your perspective on these issues? Join the conversation below.
All right. So our final conversation topic, 47, Obama and racism, what Black Canadians really think. First of all, Cesar, I'm sure everyone wants to get your take on that post that the president made, who they let up for 12 hours. He took it down, but he's not apologizing for.
Dr. Vibe, this post came on the 6th day of Black History Month, so very much connecting to the importance of Black History Month. 6th day of Black History Month 2026. But at the same time, this post came from the White House. And as he said, he's not apologizing for it. Donald Trump is not known to apologize, even when he borderline rapes a woman, to be quite honest. Even when he befriends and saves friends and lies about how close of a friend he is to a convicted pedophile and sex trafficker. Donald Trump doesn't even apologize for cheating on his pregnant wife with a sex worker, aka porn star. Donald Trump does not apologize for calling for the death penalty of 4 young Black men and 1 young Latino man, even though they were exonerated, found not guilty of the rape of a white woman, aka wouldn't care if they had raped a Black woman. Donald Trump does not apologize for racism against tenants in New York, as he and his father were literally found guilty of such behaviors. Donald Trump does not apologize for fraud in regards to his businesses, for which he was found guilty and to pay a large fine by our venerable sister Letitia James. Donald Trump does not apologize for any impression and proof of corruption, notably from overseas, such as the Qatar plane or the crypto business that apparently his sons, aka conflict of interest, are running. Donald Trump definitely does not apologize for January 6th insurrection, which, if it was Barack Obama, he would have been jailed, if not killed, that same night. And of course, Donald Trump does not apologize for being a chronic liar to his voters who keep voting and supporting him, no matter the lie, no matter the extent of the lie. So why would he apologize for why would he apologize for a video depicting as apes our President Barack Obama and sister wife Michelle Obama, when this is the same man who basically began his political career by making up the lie of birtherism that Barack Hussein Obama is not born in the United States, in order to discredit him in the purest form of racism, aka he is not part of us. He's black, he has a weird name, he must be Muslim, etc., etc. And now, of course, the A part. I thank Donald Trump for what he did. This might be shocking. This might be weird, upsetting. No, I thank him. Dr. Vibe, I've told you this many times. Donald Trump is the gift that keeps on giving in terms of exposing white supremacy, but also in terms of showing the very nature of capitalism, imperialism, you name it, systems of oppression. He keeps getting away with behaviors that even the average and even the rich and powerful white man does not think he could get away with. Yet he keeps getting away with it. Donald Trump creates that moment in which, as black people and non-black people, you have to ask yourself the question, what would it take for you who support him to draw the line, to say that's too much? Because clearly the Epstein files were not enough. Insurrection was not enough. He was reelected. The chronic lying was not enough. Oh, did I forget to mention COVID and 1 million dead Americans? AKA in public, he's against vaccines. In private, he gets himself vaccinated. I don't mean to insult the fans of Donald Trump, the people who vote for Donald Trump, but what is the definition of being dumb, of being an idiot, or being blind to what's in front of you? There is a recording that was aired, I think originally on Fox as an interview, and then on other channels, regarding a Trump voter, someone who voted for Trump 3 times, a white man, clearly speaking to the extent to which Donald Trump is an embarrassment to the United States and is not worthy of the presidency. What took him so long? I'm sorry, I'm not one of those black people where we say, okay, yeah, we welcome you, you're welcome to the cookout. No. What took you so long, bro? Well, honestly, what took him so long? Dr. Vibe, remember when you asked me if I would welcome a conservative slash MAGA to my home?
Mm-hmm.
I have a 4-year-old daughter. You think I would welcome to my home someone who supports a man who is friends with pedophiles, with sex traffickers, who is a chronic liar, who commits insurrection that if a black man did it, he would be dead? I can go down the same list I already mentioned, and a borderline rapist. Yes, the term sexual assault, digitally penetrating, borderline rapist. Why would I welcome such a person who supports Donald Trump into my home with my spouse and my daughter? Why would I? Donald Trump draws a line in terms of politics, race, values, and character. And again, the hypocrisy of white evangelical Christians who claim Christianity, Jesus, and the Bible and God on Sundays and any other day when they preach, and yet tell the parishioners to vote for a man who truthfully, I am becoming more and more convinced of this, if we use Christian eschatological, end of the world, the Great Tribulation, etc., Christian eschatological language, Donald Trump fits the narrative of the Antichrist, a seducer of people despite being the complete opposite to the values that are associated with a man named Jesus Christ. as fictional as he is. Donald Trump is a gift that keeps on giving. And for us Black Canadians, the issues are here too. Dr. Vibe, I was on the news earlier this week as I intervened, and allow me to give a shout out to a brother here, a professional. I think he's a psychotherapist. I apologize if I forget exactly his profession. Papa Lajike Diouf of Gatineau, as he had written a Facebook post on the city of Gatineau. So for those who don't know, that's in Quebec, but Ottawa Gatineau, in terms of the two joint cities of the capital region in Canada. The city of Gatineau had a publicity against lack of civility, aka bad manners, in which they basically would have people wearing the mask of an animal, I think a dinosaur, but a beast, with the message not to behave. In French, n'agissez pas comme des bêtes. Do not behave like beasts. And one of those images portrayed a Black woman who was basically raising her face against a city employee who is white. The connotation of the angry Black woman, but truly the savage Black, the uncivilized Black, the association of the Black to the animal. And then 2 days later, Donald Trump. I intervened in the media. Papa Lajike Diouf, who was first to denounce this, intervened. The city must apologize. They must remove those ads. They said they would. They said they apologize. Donald Trump isn't. And Donald Trump went further. We don't know who this Black female employee is. She is not known. The Obamas are known. And that clip, 1 minute as it was plain and obvious. I posted about it earlier today. Now, as you think about Black pride, how many people know that when you shave a monkey, when you shave an ape, underneath the fur, the skin color, it's not black, it's white. Dr. Vibe, I must say this. Donald Trump is a gift that keeps on giving. And it comes to a point with him having been reelected, with the vehemence of his language towards Black people. Oh, I forgot to mention. Did he apologize for claiming that Haitians eat cats and dogs in Springfield, I think Springfield, Illinois?
I believe so.
He didn't. The man does not apologize. The man takes no accountability. The man has no limits. His fans and supporters do not care about his behavior. So what message is it sending us? It's not Donald Trump the biggest issue. It's the people who support him. It's the white evangelicals and Black. Let us never be hypocrites regarding not holding accountable our own people, and Black preachers, because there are some, not all, but there are some who support him despite anything and everything. Donald Trump represents that man that I like to think, as a girl dad, father to a girl, I like to think Donald Trump represents that man that no man who has his head and his heart in the right place and is not to be father to a girl. Donald Trump represents that man you never want alone with your daughter. And as we are both men, we have fathers. And many of us become fathers. And even if you don't become a father biologically, whether you become a father by adoption or by step parenting, or you are the uncle, the community dad, Donald Trump represents that man that we don't want to be, that we should not aspire to be. Dr. Vibe, do you remember that Donald Trump made sexual comments, notably of desire, towards his own daughter?
Yes, he did. Yeah, I remember
Ivanka
that.
Trump. And this is the man that white evangelical Christians look at as the greatest representative of Jesus Christ because he did a prayer in the White House, because he said we have to bring back the Bible in the schools. Many people will be judged harshly. This is not a prophecy. Prophecies is charlatan talk. Prophecies don't exist. It's only for believers and fools. This time, people who support Donald Trump will have to look at themselves in the mirror because understand, Dr. Vibe, as I wrote earlier today, Thomas Jefferson, who raped Sally, oh my God, I'm having a memory blank. Sally Hill, his black female slave that, that he raped and had children by, which is the reason why today you have white Jeffersons, descendants of his white wife, and you have black and mixed Jeffersons, descendants of of his black female slave that he raped over many years, while having lied to her that he gave her freedom, and yet he kept even the children in chattel slavery. Did you find her name?
Yes, Sally Hemings.
Sally Hemings. Okay, that's oh my gosh, that is the name I had in mind. Sally Hemings. Uh, Thomas Jefferson and even Hitler. Hitler, the Gestapo, people making the comparison between the ICE police killing of Rene Good and of Alex Pretty, comparison to the Gestapo. I strongly believe even Thomas Jefferson and Adolf Hitler would be impressed by how crude and unpolished Donald Trump is, aka going back to the usual tactics of throwing some racist thing when the heat gets too hot. You know, we talk less about ICE. Oh, when Epstein
Oh,
was getting too hot,
and a certain person named Epstein.
Epstein was getting too hot.
What happened
Go catch
to
Maduro.
Venezuela?
There you go. You
What
see what I
happened to
mean?
Greenland?
The distraction techniques. Thomas
Master.
Jefferson and Adolf Hitler would be impressed. Would be impressed because in their times, people did not have the information, the education, the communication that we're supposed to have today. The Germans had not seen someone like Hitler before. It's not to give them an excuse, of course not, but they did have a precedent. The United States did not have a precedent as Trump, but ultimately, as I've said many times, Donald Trump is a creation of the United States and the monster that has been created in a society ruled and fueled by entertainment, aka The Apprentice, aka the art of the no deal. And it was revealed that there was a lot of ghost writing.
The art of the no deal.
Well, I mean, Mr. I have stopped 8 wars. You know, I mean, Vladimir Putin must love Donald Trump. President Xi, my gosh, this guy is great. Donald Trump is the gift that keeps on giving for the people who hate America and for the people who want to see the fall of American imperialism. As I've said many times, Obama and Biden were pressing on the brakes of the fall of the downfall of America. Donald Trump is pressing on the gas, and in his second term, is pressing double feet on the gas. People will think he's, what is it again? Ruling by strength. This is how you know people don't know history. This is what we call in French les soubresauts de la chute de l'Empire, aka the last remnants of the fight of the empire before its fall. It may take, it will take years and decades. That's not the problem. It took actually 200 years for the Roman Empire to fall. The British Empire was declining for decades. For decades. It didn't just fall because Gandhi, 1947, and the dismantling of the empire. No, 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 no. It was on a downfall. So this is what's happening right now to the United States since, shocker to many people, since September 11th. The mismanagement of September 11th by the neoconservatives around George Bush has accelerated the predictable downfall of the American empire. You add to it the financial crisis of 2008, and then you add to it as a third element the election of Donald Trump, as Hillary Clinton was saying herself. And this is not about being a fan of Hillary Clinton, of course not, but as she was saying herself, this election is more important than a matter of electing the first woman president. It is an election in terms of what will the Supreme Court look like? What will the direction of the United States be like? And we are seeing the result today. I'm not blaming. Sorry, go ahead, Dr. Vibe.
One last comment I want to get from you. You're a Black Canadian. What's your message to Black Americans at this time in history?
First of all, my spouse is
With this
sorry.
message of racism that has just been put out there from the White House, what is your message to Black Americans?
First of all, my spouse is African American, so
Okay. African American, sorry.
There you go. There you go. So I'm deeply beyond academics, beyond, having worked for the Obama campaign back in 2008 in Detroit, Michigan, Dearborn area. I have a deeper connection to the United States, furthermore, by our daughter, by our child, but also our people down south. Whether we're talking from LA to New York, Chicago to Chicago to New Orleans, our people down south must understand it was worse before, back in segregation times, but they must also understand it will be worse than today. Because many people and many analysts are saying there is worse than Trump that could come out of this MAGA movement, notably in the person of J.D. Vance. We see J.D. Vance putting an intellectual and rational spin to what Trump could be tweeting at 3 in the morning. But at the same time, and I mean, we saw this with Caroline Leavitt, who lies as openly as her boss, every time trying to put a spin on anything. The moral failure of these leaders will have an impact. It's already having an impact, by the way, in elementary and high schools in the behavior of boys. Studies are showing that. Teachers are speaking on it. If the president can say this or behave like this, why can't I? You can't blame them. For our people, for our Black people, it goes back to our first conversation in regards to not just Black history, Black pride, Black socioeconomics, Black consciousness that translate into supporting positive and uplifting Black entertainment. Let's exit this toxic Black culture that poisoned the minds. This WAP culture of Cardi F and the Kardashians. I have to count the Kardashians as part of the Black community. They have Black children, I'm a Pan-Africanist, But also the gangster culture. Oh, yes, we don't talk about gangster rap as much, but the number one killers of Black people are Black people. The number one killers of Black women are Black men. Ray on the street corner, just as Shanae spinning on the pole in the club. It is not some Donald Trump or MAGA or angry white men who are forcing them to be there because, and I know people will tell me, Cesar, there are circumstances, this and that. I agree. But what is it that we all know about every Ray on the corner and every Shanae stripping on the pole? They always have a relative, sometimes a sibling, Well, it's focus, school, work, come home, stay alive, stay safe, chase for your dreams. So it is possible. It is absolutely possible. And when we have, and allow me to give a shout out to our sister, um, Sophia Jacob in Ottawa, who brought to my attention some of the drama that happens in the Black church regarding uh, the dresses worn by the wives of pastors. I have a hard time calling them first ladies myself because I'm like, you're the wife of a pastor. What do you mean you're first lady? It's me, But some of this type of drama that happens because of, let me get the term right. I call it black religious trauma, but church hurt, church brain. We have a community wasting time on such trivial matters when literally we are facing a government that aims not to go back and say, make America great again, going back to the 50s, but truly going back to the 20s, to the age of lynching, to the age in which you can shoot a white woman, a mother, 3 times in the face and not face consequences because you support the politics of the president. You can do an insurrection to bring down the government, something that would have been even unimaginable in the times of George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, and the president pardons you. All of you. These are the times that we live in. So for our people, these are the times of Pan-Africanism. As 100 years ago, a certain Marcus Garvey coming from Jamaica. These are the times of Black Power, as our brother Malcolm X. And yes, we must always keep a hand open for the allies, as our brother Reverend, our King, Martin Luther King did. But we must also connect always with the motherland and the rest of Black peoples worldwide, notably in India. Very large, millions of Black people in India who are not seen. This is something that I always bring at the United Nations. Dr. Vibe, you should see. You should see how so many people not only are surprised, but so many people are thankful. The diaspora is not just on both sides of the Atlantic. The diaspora is also on the Pacific, the Indian Ocean. This is a time to bring forth the spirit of Stockley Carmichael, of Kwame Ture, and Fred Hampton in working with white and non-Black allies, just as in connecting with the diaspora further and further. It was worse 100 years ago, 60 years ago. It was worse than today. Let's not be hypocritical about that. The years and decades to come look like it might be worse than today. How are we positioning ourselves? The Black victimization, the constant Black mindset of victimization, of pointing to the evil white people, the evil Arab people, the evil Jewish people, the evil Chinese people, the evil alien. No. We are not victims. We have been victims in history, but we can forge a better future for our children. But we have to do it in the present and work hard at it and come together in Black pride, in Black solidarity, Black socioeconomics, Black politics. And that's the last thing I would say. The 3 cancers of the Black psyche: entertainment, consumerism, and white religions.
On that note, we have called it a show. As always, want to thank Cesar for taking the most important thing, his time. And he was driving and basically got to the hotel and set up. So we're going to let him go in a few seconds, let all of us go because he needs to get some rest. But as always, some sleep too.
And I'm going to the gym later tonight.
All right. So if you want to get a hold of Cesar, email address president@rootsandculturecanada.com, Facebook Cesar Remy Emery. Again, as always, if you want to subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube, subscribe. Excuse me. and hit the notification button. Also, follow the Dr. Vibe Show on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, and Substack. If you want to advertise your business, product, or service on any of our programs, please feel free to email me dr.vibe at the drvibeshow.com. If you want to find out more about Dr. Vibe also, go to taplink.cc/the drvibeshow.com. And finally, you can watch replays of this epic conversation on the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and the Dr. Vibe website, the drvibeshow.com. As always, live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get small to get stronger. Block assumptions. Aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. Don't just manage your time, manage your energy. Remember to give yourself grace. And as always, if you're not making money, make history. Try to do both and make it better. God bless. Peace to all. Keep the faith. Walk good. And we'll see you soon.
Just take a quick moment.
Yeah.
You just introduce yourself. Let Dr. Vibe welcome you into the show. As I told you, Dr. Vibe.
No. I welcome. And really good to have you here. I didn't want to. You were on a roll. I didn't want to interrupt. You were on a roll, but
In an award created by whites, dominated by whites, run by whites, and you're a billionaire, bro. FYI, I don't. It's probably the first time of the year that I use the word bro.
yes, it is. That's the first time, as long as I've known you, you used it.
My daughter would laugh.
But for many people, the economy ain't great. There we go. I saw that.